Imagine you're living in a utopian community.
Right, a literal utopia.
Yeah, exactly. You've moved to a place that's specifically designed to be this perfect sanctuary. I mean, the residents literally call the location a Xanadu.
Which is a heavy word to use, it sets a huge expectation.
It really does. So the entire premise of your daily existence there is harmony. Everything is supposed to be peaceful. But then this really unsettling, almost cinematic mystery unfolds.
Oh, it's so bizarre.
Right. So within the borders of this pristine, perfect community, there are 8 dogs. And then in this rapid, completely inexplicable succession, every single one of them dies.
Just boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. None remained. 8 dogs, all gone.
It is a profoundly jarring image to visualize, especially, when you're in an environment that is entirely devoted to cultivating perfection.
Oh, for sure.
When an anomaly of that scale occurs, the community's leadership is basically forced to respond. You can't just ignore it. But the leader of this particular Xanadu, he doesn't just issue like a standard memo about a localized disease outbreak or, a stroke of tragic luck.
Right. He doesn't call animal control.
No, not at all. He addresses the community and he calls this mass death a revelation.
A revelation. I mean, he takes this a massive step further than you'd expect. He declares that the sudden loss of these 8 dogs is a glaring sign of a huge crisis lurking right beneath the surface of their utopia.
Yeah, it's a huge red flag for him.
So welcome to today's deep dive. We are exploring a really remarkable translated text from January 2020. It's written by a spiritual figure named Su Feng.
Right.
And the document is titled, How Should Chanyuan Celestials Care for Animals and Revere Life?
And just for context, the Chanyuan Celestials are the members of this specific community.
Exactly. And our mission today is to unpack how this manifesto blends this profound, grand cosmic philosophy with highly specific, almost mundane pet care advice.
It's such a wild mix of the two.
It really is.
Yeah.
We're going to find out how this text links the survival of the animals in your backyard to the survival of humanity, and ultimately to your own spiritual salvation.
Which is huge. And the fallout of those 8 dogs dying, it actually serves as the perfect entry point into the psychology of this whole community.
Yeah, it really sets the stage.
It does, because when Su Feng addresses the Celestials about the tragedy, he strips away any biological or veterinary excuses. He doesn't say it was parvovirus or something.
Right, no medical explanation at all.
Exactly. He states flatly that this event proves there is a fundamental fracture in the collective consciousness of the people living in that specific Xanadu.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit, because he diagnoses the root cause of this fracture, using a very specific phrase.
Yes, yeah.
He claims the Celestials fundamentally lacked a reverence for life. And I want to point out, in the translation of this document, the word life isn't just capitalized at the beginning of a sentence.
No, it's not just regular grammar.
It's consistently written in all caps throughout the entire text. It treats life as this grand, tangible, universal force.
What's fascinating here is how the author conceptualizes that force. In Su Feng's worldview, capitalized life is basically a unified energy grid.
A unified grid.
Right. The core thesis of his text is that all biological existence is deeply and, functionally intertwined. So if animals start dying rapidly in your immediate environment, he views that as a literal manifestation of toxic spiritual energy.
Wow. So it's not just bad luck.
No, the implication is severe. If the dogs are dying, human survival is directly in danger. It's all connected.
It's a one-to-one correlation for him.
Exactly. And conversely, he argues that in places where lives of all kinds grow vigorously, the human beings residing there will naturally live happily and for a long time.
This makes me think of the dogs as like a kind of canary in a coal mine for the soul.
Well, that's a really good way to put it.
Yeah, because miners historically brought canaries down into the shafts because the birds were so highly sensitive to toxic gases.
Right. If the bird stops singing, you run.
Exactly. If the canary stopped singing and died, it meant the environment was quietly turning deadly for the humans, too.
Yeah.
So in this belief system, the animals roaming the Xanadu aren't just pets. They're not just companions. They are living, breathing barometers for the spiritual and physical health of the entire community.
Yes.
If they die, the spiritual air you were breathing had become toxic.
That's exactly it. And Su Feng grounds this rather abstract theory with a pretty powerful physical analogy in the text.
What's the analogy?
So he asks his followers to imagine a person trying to survive in a completely barren desert. Just you and the sand. And he poses a simple question: why can't a human survive long out there?
Well, I mean, our immediate scientific answer would just be a lack of water, right? Or extreme temperature.
Of course. But Sweffing argues the real reason a human perishes in the desert is because there is no other life around them. None of that capitalized life.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, in his theological framework, human beings cannot generate their own standalone vitality. We're not batteries. We require a thriving, surrounding ecosystem of life to draw from, to interact with, and to basically sustain our own life force.
It is a striking image, really, like for you to consider as you listen. We are so culturally conditioned to view ourselves as independent islands.
Oh, absolutely. We're very individualistic.
Right. We buy our food at the store, we lock our doors at night, and we think our survival is solely up to our own internal resilience. But this text takes the concept of interconnectedness to a literal spiritual extreme.
It really does. It asserts that being indifferent to the animals around you practically guarantees an unhappy, stressful future.
Because you are actively depleting the very energy pool you need to survive.
Precisely. And because the stakes are literally life and death, both physically and spiritually, a crisis like the loss of these 8 dogs demands a structural reckoning.
Right, you can't just move on.
No, the philosophy cannot allow an event like this to be brushed under the rug. Accountability is mandatory here.
And the text pivots beautifully here, I think, from this grand cosmic philosophy into a very grounded, very direct blame game.
Oh yeah, the blame game is intense.
So Yamthing steps right up to the podium and starts pointing fingers. But surprisingly, the first target is actually himself.
Yeah, he takes the primary responsibility for the disaster. He refers to himself specifically as the tour guide of the community.
Tour guide. That's such an interesting choice of words.
The use of tour guide rather than, say, prophet or commander is really telling. It implies he views his role as someone just guiding the Celestials through the landscape of life.
Like he's just showing them the way.
Right, and he admits it was strictly his negligence for failing to teach everyone the proper mechanics of caring for that landscape.
But, I mean, the self-blame is brief.
Very brief.
Because the secondary blame lands squarely and heavily on a specific community member named Dinghai Celestial.
Yes, poor Dinghai.
Xi Feng literally calls this person out in the text, stating that he explicitly told Dinghai to be responsible for feeding the dogs.
Yeah, he doesn't mince words.
No. So the mass death wasn't just a failure of the collective. I mean, it was. But it was also Dinghai's specific failure. Dinghai demonstrated a lack of responsibility, which proved he failed to revere life.
And this raised a really practical problem for Sui Feng. If the community doesn't intuitively know how to revere life, he realizes he has to codify it. He has to lay out the rules.
He has to spell it out for them.
Exactly. He leverages his own authority to fix the collective consciousness. He notes in the text that he has personally raised over a dozen dogs in his life.
Okay.
And out of all of them, only one ever required a visit to the veterinarian.
Really? Just one?
Just one, and that was just for a minor surgery to remove a pimple on its neck.
Wow.
All the others lived full lives without medications or injections or anything. And he attributes this flawless track record to 5 specific non-negotiable rules.
And these rules are where the text gets incredibly specific.
Yeah, they really pivot into the mundane.
So rule number 1, feed the dogs fresh food at least once a day.
Once a day.
He explicitly states it must never be stale, and the food must be warm. He is emphatic that dogs simply cannot eat cold food.
Right. And rule 2 centers on their environment. You have to keep them warm in cold weather. He notes this as a fundamental biological truth, that dogs cannot tolerate the cold.
Okay, got it.
Rule 3, their homes must be kept meticulously clean. Rule 4, bathe them regularly to physically remove parasites.
Okay, now I have to push back on this a little bit,
Oh,
particularly on rule number 1. Feeding a dog only once a day and insisting the food must absolutely be warm. That really made me scratch my head.
it is a bit unusual.
Right. From a modern veterinary science perspective, this is a highly specific, slightly unconventional directive. Most vets suggest twice-a-day feeding, and dogs regularly eat room temperature kibble.
They do it all the time. Yeah.
It makes me wonder if this is meant to be practical veterinary advice,
Mhm.
or if it functions more as a rigid, ritualistic spiritual practice, like something designed to force the human to actively participate in preparing the meal.
Well, this raises a really important question about how the mundane and the divine intersect in a utopian society like this.
How so?
Within the logic of the Chanyuan celestials, there is no separation between physical chores and spiritual energy. Giving a dog cold, stale food is offering them dead energy.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Warming the food infuses it with the caregiver's time, their intentionality, and literally their living warmth.
That actually makes a lot of sense in that framework.
Exactly. It's like scrubbing away a parasite isn't just hygiene. It's an act of spiritual purification for both the dog and the human doing the scrubbing. The physical action is just the vehicle for the spiritual energy.
Wow. That perfectly sets up the fifth and most critical rule Su Feng outlines then.
The most important one.
Because you can feed them warm food and scrub their fur all day, but Rule 5 mandates that you have to make sure the dog actually feels your love for them.
Yes. If you follow these 5 rules, combining the physical maintenance of cleanliness with the emotional transmission of love, Su Feng guarantees it becomes unlikely that a dog will get sick and die prematurely.
The love itself acts as a kind of protective shield.
That's the idea. Yeah.
So Dinghai serves as the cautionary tale of what happens when you fail to execute these rules. But the text doesn't just leave us with a villain.
No, we get a hero too.
It introduces this glowing, shining example of someone who follows rule number 5 to absolute perfection.
Huang.
Yes, we meet a member of the community named Wang. And here's where it gets really interesting for me. Sui Feng is remarkably honest in the text, openly admitting that he actually argues with Huang frequently.
Right, they butt heads a lot about operational issues.
Yeah, exactly. But the one thing he deeply, profoundly admires about her is her absolute, unwavering devotion to animals. Reading the anecdotes about Wang, it's like reading a dossier on a real-life Disney princess.
It totally is.
But with incredibly high-stakes spiritual consequences attached to everything she touches.
The stories about her are vivid and deeply specific. Sui Feng recalls a time when he worked as a teacher in Gansu.
Okay.
Specifically, he says it was at the Zangyi Pingwan Baodi My No. 2 Middle School.
Very specific.
Right. And Huang had raised chickens on the grounds there. But these chickens didn't act like normal poultry confined to a coop. They were magnetically drawn to her.
Following her around.
Exactly. When she cooked in the kitchen, a chicken would calmly lay at her feet. When she went to sleep at night, a chicken would lay right beside her bed.
That is wild.
And this intense bond continued until, in a harsh reminder of the natural world, the chickens were discovered and eaten by weasels.
Oh, no. But the magnetic pull she had wasn't just limited to poultry, right?
No, not at all.
Because at that exact same location in Gansu, there was a cat that would simply patrol the area around her, just waiting. The very second Wang sat down, the cat would instantly vault right into her arms.
It's just like the Disney princess thing you mentioned. And we see this repeated at another community location called the Fourth Branch.
Oh, the Mina bird story.
Yes, they raised myna birds there. One day, a myna accidentally escaped its enclosure and vanished into the wild. Huang was frantic. She searched everywhere, shouting for the bird to return.
And she actually gets it back.
She does. Shufen claims he personally witnessed the climax of this search. From a distant eucalyptus tree, the missing myna bird flew out, navigated the open air, and swooped straight into Huang's waiting arms.
See? Disney princess. And her dedication to the dogs of the community was just as intense. There was a dog at the Fourth Branch named Snow Leopard.
Snow leopard, yeah.
Xu Feng describes this specific dog as being born with quote-unquote high spirituality.
Which is an interesting way to describe a puppy.
Right.
Yeah.
And Wang took it upon herself to act as his protector. Worried about the dropping temperatures at night and strictly adhering to rule number 2 about keeping dogs warm, she took the cardboard carton the puppy slept in and insulated it with a thick layer of cotton cloth.
Oh.
And it goes further. After Snow Leopard laid down, she would carefully drape an old towel over him.
Her devotion actually interrupted her own basic needs, too.
How do you mean?
Well, whenever she heard Snow Leopard making a tiny chirping sound in the middle of the night, she immediately understood he needed to go outside.
Oh.
She would dutifully wake up, leave her warm bed, open the door for him, and just wait. She only allowed herself to go back to sleep once he was safely back inside his insulated box.
That's true dedication. Kui Feng also credits her as the sole reason the community's bird park survived.
Yeah, the pigeons and parrots.
They maintained this whole enclosure of them, and he admits they experienced no major problems simply because Huang never missed a single day of maintaining their food and water.
Not one day.
He states plainly that without her constant daily intervention, those birds would have died long ago.
And these aren't just sweet stories of a quirky animal lover.
No, they serve a bigger purpose in the text.
Exactly. In the context of Yue Feng's manifesto, they are irrefutable evidence of a cosmic transaction. Remember, capitalized life is a unified energy grid.
Right, the grid.
A Huang poured immense intentional love into that grid. Shuaifeng explains that because she treated life so kindly, life treated her kindly in return.
It's transactional.
It is. He explicitly states that today, out of all the Chanyuan celestials, he and Ahong enjoy the best living conditions.
Wow. And he views their comfortable living conditions not as a coincidence or, as some executive perk of leadership.
No, not at all.
He calls it a direct reward from Tao.
Reward from Tao. For those unfamiliar with how Shifeng uses the concept of Tao here, he is basically referring to the fundamental underlying natural order of the universe.
Okay, so how does that work with the living conditions?
In this theology, the Tao acts like a cosmic current. When you align with it by nurturing life, it flows back toward you, rewarding you with physical ease and comfort. It's a direct karmic transaction.
So nurturing life physically yields a tangible lifestyle reward.
Precisely.
It begs a fascinating question for you listening right now. If your current living conditions, your home, your stress levels, your comfort, were a direct one-to-one reflection of how well you've nurtured the life around you, what kind of conditions would you be living in today?
Oh, it is a heavy thought experiment.
Really makes you think about your houseplants, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
But to fully grasp the gravity of this philosophy, the text forces us to look at the other side of the coin, too.
Right, because it's not all positive.
No. If Ahong represents the cosmic reward of perfectly nurturing life, Shuifeng shares his own personal stories to illustrate the tragic, dark realities of what happens when that chain of care is broken.
The tone of the document shifts drastically here. It goes from these uplifting stories into stark tales of neglect and separation.
It gets really dark.
Shuifeng reiterates that animals are far more afraid of the cold than humans realize, and he shares a memory to prove it.
Yeah, he recounts a time he lived in Zimbabwe where he was raising a highly intelligent black German shepherd.
Okay.
One winter, which he specifically notes wasn't even considered particularly cold by human standards, he opened his door to go outside. The dog immediately and forcefully squeezed its way inside the house.
Just pushed right past him.
Pushed right past. Shuifeng generally didn't allow the dog indoors, but no matter how hard he pushed or commanded, the dog refused to leave. Eventually, Shuifeng found the massive German shepherd hiding, curled up tightly behind a sofa, looking at him pitifully.
That moment served as a real wake-up call for him, didn't it?
It did.
He realized the dog was desperate for warmth, and from that day forward, he made sure to add extra insulation and shabby blankets to the doghouses whenever the temperature dropped.
Unfortunately, not every animal in the community received that kind of intervention in time.
Yeah, the story about the kittens.
Right. He recounts a truly heartbreaking incident at the fourth branch. A celestial named Cien arrived carrying 2 kittens from a place called Linkhang.
And shortly after they arrived at the branch, both kittens perished.
Both of them.
Shuifeng does not sugarcoat the cause either. They froze to death.
And the visceral detail he includes here is devastating. He found 1 kitten already dead from the exposure to the cold. In a desperate attempt to save the remaining kitten, he scooped it up, rushed it to his own room, and placed it directly into his bed to warm it up with his body heat.
Wow, that's incredibly sad.
But the cold had already done catastrophic damage. The kitten's internal organs had completely shut down, and it died the following day.
These stories really emphasize the sheer physical vulnerability of animals to the elements. But Shuifeng goes even deeper, exploring a vulnerability that is much harder to protect against.
The emotional trauma.
Yes, the emotional trauma of separation. This is the section of the text that really stuck with me.
Me too.
While living in a villa next to an embassy in Zimbabwe, Shuifeng found himself caring for too many dogs. So he made the practical decision to rehome a tall, immensely powerful dog named Dahuang.
Dahuang, yeah.
He arranged to give Dahuang to the father of the girl who washed clothes for him.
And by all accounts, Dahuang was physically dominant and robust. But emotionally, the separation proved fatal.
Fatal. Just from being rehomed.
Yes. The laundry girl reported back to Shuifeng that from the exact moment her father brought the dog into their home, Dahuang refused to eat or drink.
Oh my God.
Despite his physical strength, within just a few days, this powerful animal succumbed to thirst and starvation, dying entirely from heartbreak.
It wasn't an isolated phenomenon either.
Oh no, it happened again.
Shuifeng mentions 2 other dogs he raised in Zimbabwe, Lembe, and Rambo. Both dogs thrived while he was living there. But as soon as Shuifeng permanently moved away, the chain of care broke, and they both died in rapid succession.
It's tragic.
Rambo, specifically, became disoriented and was hit by a car.
Shuifeng uses these painful examples to demonstrate the terrifying power of the bond between human and animal. But from an analytical standpoint, it introduces a massive philosophical tension into his entire manifesto.
And that's exactly what I was thinking. So what does this all mean? Because I find myself wrestling with a major dilemma here.
Let's hear it.
If a powerful dog like Da Huang starved to death simply because he missed Shifeng so intensely, doesn't that imply that creating this deep spiritual bond actually makes the animal significantly more vulnerable?
It's a valid question.
Eventually, the human always has to leave, right? Whether through moving, circumstance, or death. Does loving them with this intense, life-sustaining energy inadvertently set them up for a fatal heartbreak?
If we connect this to the bigger picture of Shuifeng's teachings, we have to remember how he defines love.
Okay, remind me.
In this text, love is a literal physical force that sustains biology. It is the energy grid keeping the animal's heart beating. To the author, the failure isn't in the creation of the attachment.
Detachment is good.
Right, the attachment is what makes the animal's life vibrant and healthy in the first place. The tragedy is entirely in the breaking of that connection.
I see.
It serves as a stark warning about the immense, heavy responsibility you take on when you bring an animal into your energetic sphere. You literally become their life source.
And crucially, that responsibility does not stop at pets.
No, it extends everywhere.
Before Guifeng finally left Zimbabwe on April 18th, he delivered a very specific parting warning to two celestials, Kanghai and Zhaowei.
What did he tell them?
He instructed them that they must treat all lives in the family well. And he meant all lives, the grasses in the yard, the trees, the bees, and the mice.
Wow, even the mice.
He even issued a strict mandate that they are never allowed to kill snakes that enter the home.
This is where the philosophy scales up to include the entire ecosystem. He argues that treating these seemingly insignificant lives, the mice, the snakes, the weeds, with reverence actually helps to eliminate hidden risks and crises from human lives.
It's all connected back to human survival.
Exactly. Even a small patch of grass, if nurtured rather than destroyed, contributes to the energetic safety of the human household.
It is a radically inclusive view of our environment.
It really is.
As we bring this deep dive to a close, we have to examine the ultimate conclusion Shuifeng draws from all of these rules, stories, and tragedies.
Right, the final takeaway.
He presents this philosophy not just as a pet care guide, but as a final exam for the human soul.
He asks his followers, and by extension, you, the listener, ask yourself, have you ever cared for lives like this?
Capital lives.
Capital lives. He states with absolute clarity that if you have not, it proves the very structure of your life is, quote-unquote, still too rough.
It's still too rough.
Yes. And if the structure of your life remains too rough, he claims you are fundamentally not yet worthy to enter heaven.
It is an intense, unyielding ultimatum.
Oh, absolutely.
Whether you view this translated document as literal truth, a rigid set of utopian rules, or a beautiful, sweeping metaphor for empathy, it challenges you to look at your surroundings differently.
It asks you to weigh the quality of your own consciousness by measuring the vitality of the life you have chosen to surround yourself with.
It demands that we stop viewing ourselves as separate from the natural world. It insists that our everyday mundane actions, how we heat our dog's food, how we react to a snake in the garden, are actually profound spiritual declarations about who we are.
Every action matters.
We've spent this deep dive exploring how our care impacts the biological world around us. The dogs, the birds, the grass.
Sure.
But I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over or explore on your own today.
Okay.
Think about the environments you cultivate that aren't strictly letting biology. Think about your workspace, your physical home, or even your digital footprint and the online communities you foster.
That's a great point.
If the vitality of the physical life around you is a mirror of your spiritual consciousness, what does the rest of the non-living environment you've built say about the current structure of your life? Is the space you've created a vibrant sanctuary, or is it a barren desert?
It is a question well worth your time to explore.
Thank you for joining us as we unpack this incredible document. Keep asking questions, keep examining your ecosystem, and we will see you on the next deep dive.